Voice of the Sea, learning from experts across the ocean.
Welcome to Voice of the Sea.
This time on Voice of the Sea, we're at the Pacific Aquaculture and Coastal Resources Center at UH Hilo.
And I was just inside looking at the algae, and so are these algae from
Yes,
area?
from the Algae Lab. The main point of all this algae growing is to feed these oysters for the most part.
But that's a lot more algae than I just saw in the Algae Lab.
What you saw in the Algae Lab is just the initial stages when they start growing and reproducing. We increase the size and volume of water, and they kind of grow to populate it and fill it up. And eventually, when it's good enough, we harvest it and pump it back in here and use it for food.
So is that a mixed culture then, or is it just one kind of algae?
I believe it's a mixed culture of Isochrysis and Cattoceras. So yeah, and the mixed balanced diet really helps give these guys, a balanced diet. It makes them more healthy and strong and able to survive. And as you'll notice, it's a lot warmer up here. We put these windows or doors on the greenhouse to help us heat the place up, which actually shortens their development and makes them grow a lot quicker.
So you call it a greenhouse, and that's because you're actually trying to keep them warm?
Actually trying to keep them warm, one of the reasons anyway. So what we have here with the 105 screens, it's all fourth week. And if you look in, it's really kind of hard to see, but you can see little specks kind of whirling around. And that's the larvae. They're smaller than grains of sand, and they just swim around. And we provide water circulation and fresh water for them, so it's constantly flowing, and food. And every 2 days, we completely drain the tanks through screens and give them all new water and new food and whole new thing. And if they're ready for it, upgrade them to the next stage in their life cycle.
Every 2 days?
Every 2 days, we drop all these tanks through sieves in the bottom, and yeah, it works. If you come this way, I can show you other life stages.
When is the next time you're going to drain the tanks?
Tomorrow.
And what time do you do that?
In the morning. It's mostly a day. It takes up most of the day. It's a big process. So this is week 2, and they have 55 micron screens, and they have a particular flow rate of 37 mLs per 10-second period, 37 mLs of algae per 10-second time interval.
So ml, you're talking about milliliters? Milliliters,
yes.
And microns, is there any way we can get an idea of what's the difference between 55 microns and 105 microns?
Small and really small? Okay, well, let's see. Maria would know this better, but I believe 1,000 microns is a millimeter. So 1,000 microns is a millimeter, and these at 55 microns are so much tinier than a millimeter. It's tinier than a hair. It's really tiny.
So would I be able to see through that screen?
You'd be able to see through it because it's a screen and it has lots of tiny little holes. However, none of the larvae can pass through, and only the algae cells can pass through. The larvae are too big. So that's the purpose. And these are week 2. And over here is our oldest batch. It's also week 4, but it's at the later end of week 4. And these are almost ready to ship. The older they get, the more they start to find a place that they want to settle and attach to. And at this stage, we look at them under the microscope, and they have a little thing we call the eye. It's like a little black dot that you can see from the microscope. And when you see that, you know they're about ready to settle. And at that point, we drain them all and ship them out in little wet paper towels in plastic bags, and we ship them.
So you ship them not in water?
Not in water. We dry them out, just put them in damp paper towels, and they're in little clumps of about 10 million. And yeah, it's a lot in a little handful. You don't want to drop that.
10 million.
Absolutely, yeah. So yeah, at that stage they're ready to go, and that's kind of this process. And for most of the algae growth done here is all to feed these, in addition to other projects we have going on. Yeah.
And how long can they survive in the paper towel?
Approximately 2 days. Much longer than that, and their survival rate drops dramatically. They run out of air and water, and they need fresh salt water to survive and food and all that. So
you're shipping them by express mail?
Yes, absolutely. And for the most part, no problems in them getting there. I mean, every once in a while, but it works good.
Do you get extra nervous on shipping day?
It gets very hectic, I have to say, between dropping these tanks, packaging everything, getting all the paperwork together, and all the other projects that are going on around here, which are equally important. It can get pretty busy for the few of us that work here. Yeah.
And do you enjoy working with the oysters?
Oh, absolutely. I grew up on a clam farm. It's always been what I've wanted to do. So hopefully I can end up there in the future.
Do you want to go back to the Marshall Islands then?
Oh, yeah. I mean, when I end up there in the future, I mean end up farming clams as more on a professional basis than as a hatchery assistant at the moment. So yeah.
And is clam farming similar to the oyster farming that you're doing here?
Very similar. Similar life stages, similar spawning process, similar rearing process. Yeah, it's all aquaculture, bivalve aquaculture.
So having grown up on the clam farm, what have you learned from being here in Hilo?
A lot.
But even though you grew up doing it?
Well, yes, even though I grew up doing it, I was kind of young and not really paying attention too much, to be perfectly honest. But since coming here, I've learned a lot, especially from people that have worked here, like Brian and other hatchery managers. And yeah, I've learned a lot. There's the rearing process. It can get so in-depth, and for everything you do, you can always find a better way of doing it. So it's constantly trying to improve in every aspect. And that's what we do here. We use all available resources to make the best possible oysters. Yeah, that's.
So what are some of the things that you've discovered along the way to make a better oyster?
Mostly it's providing a very nice place for them to live, as far as they like space. You can't put them too close together. They like clean water and good algae, and they like to be taken care of and screened every 2 days. They require a lot of time and attention. That's, for the most part, the #1 thing that makes us successful.
So it's a little bit like raising any young organism.
Absolutely. Constantly have to check on them, make sure it's good. If the water flow stops for 24 hours, I mean, they can start to die. And same thing with algae. So everything always has to be checked, double checked, and then checked again at times.
So this isn't a job that shuts down for Christmas or holidays?
No, it goes 24/7, 7 days a week.
Turn your love of the ocean into a lifelong career. Join NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, as we unlock the secrets in the deep oceans, track rapidly moving storms, model climate trends, protect and preserve our marine resources, and so much more. It's all in a day's work at NOAA. Find a career that makes a world of difference, enriching life through science, service, and stewardship. NOAA.
The Curriculum Research and Development Group in the College of Education at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. CRDG has been providing quality educational programs and services for over 40 years, serving students, teachers, parents, educators, and experts around the world and here in Hawaii. The Curriculum Research and Development Group, improving schools, improving education. CRDG.
The University of Hawaii's Sea Grant College program, focused on Hawaii's coasts and its communities through sustainable development, safe seafood supply, sustainable coastal tourism, hazard resilience, and healthy coastal ecosystems. Hawaii's Sea Grant.
Exploring Our Fluid Earth is a dynamic curriculum developed by the University of Hawaii's Curriculum Research and Development Group, teaching ocean science concepts through the disciplines of physics, chemistry, biology, and ecology. Exploring Our Fluid Earth is now available freely online. Find out more at exploringourfluidearth.org.